A lonely millionaire always spent Christmas alone until his new employee, a single mother, invited him for dinner. He never imagined he would fall in love and that their lives would change forever. A story of love and redemption that will touch your heart. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like and comment where you are watching from. The cold December wind swept down Fifth Avenue as David Anderson gazed at New York City from the top of his penthouse in the Upper East Side. At 42, he had achieved everything money could buy: a privileged view of the city that never sleeps, artworks valued in the millions, imported cars parked in his climate-controlled garage. But on that Christmas Eve of 2024, surrounded by the luxury he had built with his own hands, David felt like the poorest man in the world. "Mr. Anderson," the soft voice of Sarah, his housekeeper for 15 years, echoed through the Carrara marble hall. "I've set the dinner on the table. Are you sure you don't want me to stay? It's Christmas." David slowly turned, adjusting his Armani blazer over his broad shoulders. His brown eyes, usually piercing in business meetings, looked tired. "Thank you, Sarah, but you can go. Enjoy the dinner with your family." The 60-year-old woman hesitated at the door, her calloused hands firmly gripping her purse. "Mr. David, if I may, you shouldn't spend Christmas alone. My daughter-in-law always prepares too much food, and the kids would love to meet Grandma's boss. Don't worry about me." David gently but firmly cut her off. "I have some reports to review. A company doesn't stop even on Christmas." Sarah sighed, knowing that tone all too well. It was the same response for 5 consecutive years. "Good night, sir, and Merry Christmas." The sound of the door closing echoed through the 400-square-foot apartment, amplified by the silence. David walked to the panoramic window and rested his forehead against the cold glass. Down below, the streets buzzed with activity. Families carrying gift bags, couples holding hands walking under the Christmas lights of Broadway, children running between their parents with smiles plastered on their faces. "Damn it," he murmured, closing his eyes. His mind involuntarily drifted back to his childhood in a small town in Ohio, where Christmas meant his grandmother Helen's small house filled with uncles, cousins, and the unmistakable smell of golden French toast sizzling in the pan. Where his father, a humble accountant, strummed his guitar in the living room while the kids fought over who would open the presents first. Where his mother, Helen, still smiled at him without ulterior motives. Everything changed when he founded Anderson Realty at 25. The first building sold brought in the first million. The second brought 5 million. In 15 years, he built a real estate empire that stretched from Miami to Seattle. But every brick laid seemed to have also erected a wall around his heart. "People only get close to you for what you have, David." Helen's harsh voice echoed in his memory. "Learn to distinguish interest from affection, or you will be destroyed." And he had learned. He had learned so well that he now lived in a fortress of distrust, where every smile was questioned, every gesture of affection dissected for hidden motives. 3 broken engagements, dozens of relationships destroyed by paranoia, hundreds of friendships that died in the cradle of suspicion. The phone vibrated on the dinner table set for 1. A message from Helen. "Merry Christmas, son. I hope you're enjoying the holidays." David laughed bitterly. Enjoying. As if it were possible to enjoy anything when trapped in a golden cage built by his own hands. He walked to the table where Sarah had carefully arranged the French porcelain plates, silver cutlery, and a solitary candle. The menu was impeccable: grilled salmon with capers, truffle mushroom risotto, a bottle of Chateau Lafite 2015, food to impress guests who would never come. He sat down and cut the first piece of salmon, chewing mechanically while watching the candle flame dance. The taste was perfect, but it could have been cardboard. Everything tasted the same when eating alone. The phone rang. It was Marcos, his oldest partner. "David, man, Merry Christmas. How's dinner going?" "Quiet," he lied. swallowing another piece of the tasteless fish. "And yours?" "Chaotic, just the way we like it. The kids have already destroyed half the house. Jessica is arguing with her mother-in-law about the turkey seasoning, and I'm hiding in the bathroom talking to you." Marcos's warm laughter crossed the line. "You should have accepted our invitation, buddy. There's still time to come." "Thanks, but I'm good here." "David," Marcos's voice turned serious. "When was the last time you spent Christmas with someone? Really?" The question hit like a punch to the gut. David closed his eyes, trying to remember. 5 years. 6. The dates blurred in a haze of lonely dinners and late nights working. "Marcos, you need a family, man. You need someone who cares about you for who you are, not for what you have. And how would I distinguish one from the other?" Bitterness overflowed in David's voice. "How would I know if someone loves me or loves my bank account? By taking risks, David, by trusting, by living. It's easy to say when you don't have a $2 billion fortune being coveted by everyone. It's easy to say when you haven't built walls so high that you can't even climb them. Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Merry Christmas, Marcos. Merry Christmas, brother, and think about what I said." David hung up and pushed the plate away. The apartment felt even larger now, the high ceilings echoing every movement, every breath. He stood up and walked to the office, where a stack of contracts awaited his signature. Work. It was always work he ran to when loneliness. It was becoming unbearable. He sat down in the Italian leather armchair and opened the first folder. Financial report for the 4th quarter. Projections for 2025. Delivery schedule for the developments in Washington, D.C. Cold numbers that required no emotion, did not lie, did not betray. But even the numbers could not distract him that night. Each page turned seemed to amplify the silence. Each calculation seemed to underline his loneliness. Outside, New York City was celebrating. Families gathered, friends toasted, children laughed, and he was there, alone with his papers and his mistrust. The clock struck midnight when David finally gave up on working. He walked to the window once more and looked out at the city he had conquered, but which could not embrace him back. "Merry Christmas, David," he whispered to his own reflection in the glass. "May next year be different." But even making the wish, he knew he did not believe his own words. How could the next year be different if he continued to be the same person? How could he have a family if he could not trust anyone? How could he love if he was afraid of being used? The questions followed him to his bedroom, where he lay down still dressed on the king-size bed, staring at the ceiling until exhaustion finally overcame him. And in his dreams, strangely, there were no numbers or contracts, just a small table full of people where someone laughed at his jokes without knowing how much money he had in the bank. 3 weeks before that lonely Christmas, the 12th floor of the Anderson corporate building buzzed with the typical excitement of early December. The central air conditioning fought against the heat of New York City that insisted on challenging the calendar, while employees rushed through the marble corridors trying to close the last contracts of the year. David walked through the administrative department with his firm and calculated stride, greeting subordinates with polite but distant nods. His presence always caused a mix of reverence and nervousness. Everyone knew that behind that impeccable suit and courteous smile was one of the most demanding businessmen in New York City. "Good morning, Mr. Anderson," said Jessica, the HR manager, approaching with a folder in hand. "We have a new hire starting today. She will work in administration, accounts payable." David stopped in front of the desk, where a woman was typing intently, oblivious to the movement around her. Her brown hair fell in natural waves over her shoulders, held back by a simple elastic. She wore a discreet navy blue blouse and a knee-length black skirt. Nothing flashy, but there was something in her upright posture and the determination with which her fingers danced over the keyboard that caught his attention. "Marina Smith," Jessica consulted the file. 35 years old, experience in finance, impeccable references. She started this morning and has already organized 3 months of pending tasks that had accumulated. Marina looked up from the computer screen and met David's gaze. For a moment, something passed between them. Not recognition, but a strange familiarity, as if they had known each other from somewhere neither could pinpoint. "Mr. Anderson," she quickly stood up, extending her hand. "It's an honor to work at your company." Welcome." David shook her hand, noting the firmness of her grip and the sincerity in her light brown eyes. "I hope you adapt well to our routine." "I'm sure I will," Marina smiled, a genuine smile that asked for nothing but an opportunity. "I already feel at home." David nodded and continued his rounds. But throughout the rest of the morning, he found himself thinking about that encounter. There was something different about Marina Smith. She hadn't stammered in his presence like most new employees, hadn't tried to impress him with unnecessary compliments, nor displayed that typical anxiety of someone eager to climb the corporate ladder at any cost. At lunchtime, David watched from his office window as Marina left the building with a thermos in hand. Instead of heading to one of the expensive restaurants in the area, she sat in the small garden of the building, under a tree, and ate alone while reading a book. "Jessica," David called the manager over the intercom, "bring me the complete resume of the new employee." Minutes later, he had in his hands the summarized life of Marina Smith. A graduate in business administration from NYU, 8 years of experience in medium-sized companies, always in operational roles, marital status, divorced, dependents, 1 minor daughter. Reason for leaving the last job, downsizing. But what intrigued David the most was what wasn't written there. For someone with solid experience and a degree from a top university, why had Marina accepted a junior position? Why hadn't she sought better roles? And most importantly, why was there a 6-month gap in her employment history? Over the next 2 weeks, David found himself discreetly observing Marina. She always arrived 15 minutes early, worked with impressive efficiency, and never participated in the office gossip. At lunchtime, she repeated the ritual. Thermos in the garden, book in hand, chosen solitude. "She's a bit strange, isn't she?" commented Emily from accounting during a meeting. "Doesn't talk to anyone, doesn't go to happy hours, doesn't join the conversations. It seems like she thinks she's better than us." "Or maybe she's just shy," replied Michael from the legal department. "Have you noticed how efficient she is? In 2 weeks, she did what Emily took a month to do." "Too efficient," murmured Laura from reception. "Sometimes I wonder if she's hiding something. No one is that perfect." David listened to these conversations with growing interest. The employee's distrust of Marina echoed his own paranoid nature. But for some reason he couldn't explain. He felt compelled to defend her. On Thursday of the 3rd week, David went down to the administrative department at the end of the workday. The floor was almost empty. Most employees had already left to enjoy the New York nightlife. Maria remained at her desk, focused on a complex spreadsheet. "Working late?" David approached. Maria looked up, genuinely surprised to see him there. "Mr. Anderson, I didn't hear you come in." She glanced quickly at the clock. "Wow, it's already 7 o'clock. I didn't even notice the time passing." "Is that dedication or escape?" David asked, surprising himself with his frankness. Maria hesitated, her hands moving nervously over the keyboard. A bit of both, perhaps. The honesty of her response completely disarmed him. "May I ask what you're escaping from?" "From the bills waiting for me at home." Maria smiled sadly. "Sometimes it's easier to solve other people's financial problems than your own." David pulled out a chair and sat next to her, ignoring corporate protocol. "Serious problems?" Maria studied him for a moment as if assessing whether she could trust him. "My mother has diabetes. Treatment is expensive, even with insurance. My daughter needs new school supplies, and the apartment we live in, well, let's just say the landlord isn't very patient with late payments." "And your daughter's father?" He left 2 years ago, Maria replied without bitterness, just with the resignation of someone who accepts reality. He got a transfer to Miami and thought it would be easier to start a new life without the baggage of the past. David felt a pang of anger for someone he didn't even know. How could a man abandon a woman like Maria, strong, intelligent, determined, clearly fighting alone against the world? "Is that why you accepted this position?" he asked gently. "That's why I accepted any position they offered me," Maria corrected. "I can't afford to be picky when you have a daughter to raise and a mother to care for." David was silent for a moment, processing that information. Here was a woman who clearly had the potential for much more than she was doing, but who had settled for less out of necessity, not out of unbridled ambition or greed, but out of love for her family. "What's your daughter's name?" "Emily. She's 8 years old and the light of my life." Maria's face lit up. "She's an incorrigible chatterbox, always asking 1,000 questions about everything. Yesterday she asked me if Mommy's boss was a robot because I always say you never smile." David laughed, a genuine laugh that echoed through the empty office. "A robot? She has a very vivid imagination. She thinks rich people are different from us, ordinary mortals. And you? What do you think?" Maria studied him again, her head slightly tilted. "I think rich people are just like everyone else. They just have more money to buy better masks." The observation hit David like a bullseye. "Masks? Everyone wears masks, Mr. Anderson. Some are made of cheap plastic, others of solid gold. But underneath, we're all the same, people with fears, dreams, wounds we try to hide." David slowly stood up, feeling exposed in a way he hadn't experienced in years. "That's an interesting philosophy. It's the experience of someone who has lost everything once and learned that what really matters can't be bought." "And what really matters?" Maria smiled, gathering her belongings. "Having someone waiting for you to come home. Someone who cares if you're okay. Someone who loves you for who you are, not for what you have." As they walked together to the elevator, David felt something changing inside him. That woman, with her simple words and disarming honesty, had cracked his armor in just a few minutes of conversation. "Maria," he said as the elevator doors opened. "Yes? Thank you for the conversation. It's been a while since someone made me think." "You're welcome, Mr. Anderson. Good night." And as the elevator descended, David found himself smiling for the first time in weeks. Maria Johnson had arrived like a silent storm, shaking the foundations he thought were unshakable, and for the first time in years he didn't feel threatened by that change. Christmas Eve arrived with the typical grey sky of a Miami summer, heavy with clouds promising rain by the end of the afternoon. The Anderson corporate building was practically empty. Only a few employees were finishing the last details before the holiday break that would extend until January 2nd. David had dismissed almost the entire team by noon, but remained in his office on the 25th floor, pretending to review contracts he already knew by heart. The truth was, he wasn't in a hurry to get home. His penthouse awaited him with the same silence as always, the same golden solitude that had become his most faithful companion. It was nearly 7 o'clock when he finally decided to go down for one last look at the administrative floors. The ritual had become a habit over the past 3 weeks. He always found an excuse to pass by the 12th floor where Maria worked. Not that he would admit that to himself, of course. The lights in the administrative department were off, except for a small lamp on a desk in the right corner. David approached and found Maria bent over a pile of documents, a cup of cold coffee next to her computer, and an expression of absolute concentration on her face. "Still here?" His voice echoed in the empty floor. Maria looked up, startled. "Mr. Anderson, you scared me." She ran her hand through her hair, trying to compose herself. "I didn't expect to find anyone here." Neither did I expect to find someone here. It's Christmas Eve, Maria. Shouldn't you be at home with your family?" Maria sighed, saving the file on her computer. "Emily is at my neighbor Mrs. Thompson's house. She offered to take care of Emily tonight because I said I had to work late. You lied to your daughter on Christmas Eve. I lied to myself, Maria replied with an honesty that surprised him. The truth is, I don't have money to buy the gift Then I preferred that she spend the night out, playing with Mrs. Thompson's grandkids, rather than staying home, watching me pretend that everything is fine. David felt a tightness in his chest. And your mother? She's in the hospital. She had a crisis last night. Nothing serious, thank God, but they're going to keep her under observation until tomorrow. Maria forced a smile. At least in the hospital she'll have a decent dinner. And you? Where are you having dinner? Maria vaguely gestured to the thermal lunchbox on the table. I made a sandwich at home. It's not exactly a Christmas feast, but that's ridiculous. The hardness in David's voice made Maria look up, surprised. He stood before her, fists clenched at his sides, an expression of indignation on his face. Mr. Anderson, a woman like you, working until 7 o'clock on Christmas Eve, eating a cold sandwich, while your daughter is at a neighbor's house because you can't afford gifts. That's ridiculous and unfair. Maria slowly stood up, her posture becoming defensive. Look, I know my situation isn't ideal, but I don't need pity. I'm managing just fine on my own. It's not pity. David took a step closer. It's indignation. You're one of the most competent employees I've ever seen, but you're here earning a pittance because it was the only thing you could get. Where's the justice in that? Life isn't fair, Mr. Anderson. I thought someone in your position would have learned that by now. And you? Have you resigned yourself to accept that life isn't fair? Maria stared at him for a long moment. I haven't resigned myself. I've just learned to fight with the weapons I have, not with the ones I wish I had. The silence stretched between them, heavy with tension and mutual understanding. Outside, the rain began to fall, tapping against the office windows like small, insistent fists. David looked around, the empty desks, the lights turned off, the cold, lifeless corporate environment. Then he looked at Maria, who was trying to maintain her dignity despite clearly being exhausted and worried. Why don't you have dinner at home today? The words left his mouth before he could fully process what he was saying. Maria blinked, confused. How? Your daughter always asks questions about the boss of Mommy, right? And you said you always make too much food. David swallowed hard, not believing what he was about to propose. Why don't you invite me to meet her? You, Maria stammered, clearly in shock. Mr. Anderson, I don't think I understood. You did. I'm suggesting we spend Christmas together, you, your daughter and me, if you don't mind the company of a robot, of course. A laugh escaped Maria's lips, breaking the tension. Emily's going to freak out when she finds out that Mommy's boss isn't a robot. So, is that a yes? Maria hesitated, biting her lower lip as she processed the situation. Mr. Anderson, I don't know if that's a good idea. I mean, you're my boss, and our home is quite simple. It's not the kind of place someone like you— Someone like me what? David gently interrupted. Rich, important, used to luxury. David laughed, a genuine sound that echoed through the empty floor. Maria, I just spent 3 weeks watching you eat lunch under a tree, preferring to be alone rather than socialize with people you consider fake. Do you think I care about the size of your home? But why? Why do you want to do this? David was silent for a moment, trying to formulate an answer that made sense, even to himself. Because you told me that what really matters is having someone waiting for you to come home. And I thought, maybe today I can be that person for you, and maybe you can be that for me. Maria's eyes filled with tears that she struggled to hold back. Are you sure? It's not just pity for me. I'm sure. And it's not pity. It's hope. Hope for what? To discover what it's like to have a family, even if it's just for one night. Maria took a deep breath, discreetly wiping her eyes. Okay, but there are some conditions. What are they? First, No expensive gifts for Emily. She's a child, but she's smart, and I don't want her to get used to things I can't provide. Agreed. Second, you'll have to put up with a small apartment, with old furniture and cheap decor. I can live with that. Third, no formalities. If you're going to have dinner with us, it's David, not Mr. Anderson, and you'll have to talk to an 8-year-old about 8-year-old things. David smiled. Emily, right? The incorrigible chatterbox who thinks I'm a robot. That's her. I hope you're ready for an interrogation. She'll want to know your favorite color, your favorite animal, if you like chocolate ice cream, and why adults wear ties. I think I can handle that. Maria shut down her computer and began to gather her belongings into her bag. Then let's go. But I warn you, the dinner is going to be very simple. Roast chicken, stuffing, potato salad and flan. Sounds perfect. As they waited for the elevator, David found himself nervous in a way he hadn't felt in decades. When was the last time he had dinner at someone's house? When was the last time he had talked to a child? When was the last time he had done something spontaneous, without ulterior motives or strategic calculations? David, Maria called his attention. Yes? Thank you. For everything, for the job, for the conversation last week, and for this. I don't know why you're doing it, but thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance to discover what a real family is like. The elevator arrived, and as they descended 25 floors, David felt as adaptações. Villa Madalena, Brooklyn, Donna Antonia, Mrs. Thompson, Helena, Helen, Vovó Helena, Grandma Helen, Pitangueira, cherry tree, farofa de bacon, bacon stuffing, Natal, Christmas, Isabella Santos, Emily Johnson, Vovó, Grandma, bolo de cenoura, carrot cake, mon, pai, dad, pijama de unicatérnios, unicorn pajamas, chinelos de pelo rosa, pink fuzzy slippers, bem-vindos, welcome, Isa, Amy, mãe, mon, vovó, grandma, mãe, 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 bermão, mãe, bermão, mãe, demão, mãe, banmão, mãe, nemão, mãe, demão, mãe, demão, mãe, madamão, mãe, banmão, mãe, bamão, mãe, banmão, mãe, mamão, mãe, damão, mãe, bamão, mãe, madadamão, mãe, mão, 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 mãe, bermão, mãe, demão, mãe, demão, mãe, banmão, mãe, nemão, mãe, demão, mãe, demão, mãe, madamão, mãe, banmão, mãe, bamão, mãe, banmão, mãe, mamão, mãe, damão, mãe, bamão, mãe, madadamão, mãe, mão, 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 mãe, bermão, mãe, demão, mãe, demão, mãe, banmão, mãe, nemão, mãe, demão, mãe, demão, mãe, madamão, mãe, banmão, mãe, bamão, mãe, banmão, mãe, mamão, mãe, damão, mãe, bamão, mãe, madadamão, mãe, mão, 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 mãe, bermão, mãe, demão, mãe, the mom, mày, ban mom, mày, the mom, mày, the mom, mày, the mom, mày, mother mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, the mom, mày, ba mom, mày, mother the mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, bên mom, mày, the mom, mày, ban mom, mày, nơi mom, mày, the mom, mày, the mom, mày, mother mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, the mom, mày, ba mom, mày, mother the mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, bên mom, mày, the mom, mày, ban mom, mày, nơi mom, mày, the mom, mày, the mom, mày, mother mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, the mom, mày, ba mom, mày, mother the mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, bên mom, mày, the mom, mày, ban mom, mày, nơi mom, mày, the mom, mày, the mom, mày, mother mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, the mom, mày, ba mom, mày, mother the mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, bên mom, mày, the mom, mày, ban mom, mày, nơi mom, mày, the mom, mày, the mom, mày, mother mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, the mom, mày, ba mom, mày, mother the mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, bên mom, mày, the mom, mày, ban mom, mày, nơi mom, mày, the mom, mày, the mom, mày, mother mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, the mom, mày, ba mom, mày, mother the mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, bên mom, mày, the mom, mày, ban mom, mày, nơi mom, mày, the mom, mày, the mom, mày, mother mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, the mom, mày, ba mom, mày, mother the mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, bên mom, mày, the mom, mày, ban mom, mày, nơi mom, mày, the mom, mày, the mom, mày, mother mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, da mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ma da da mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, bên mom, mày, để mom, mày, ban mom, mày, để mom, mày, để mom, mày, để mom, mày, ma để mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, để mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma da để mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, bên mom, mày, để mom, mày, ban mom, mày, nên mom, mày, để mom, mày, để mom, mày, ma để mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, da mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ma da da mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, bên mom, mày, để mom, mày, ban mom, mày, nên mom, mày, để mom, mày, để mom, mày, ma để mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, da mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ma da da mom, mày, 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 bên mom, mày, để mom, mày, để mom, mày, ban mom, mày, nên mom, mày, để mom, mày, để mom, mày, ma để mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ban mom, mày, ma mom, mày, da mom, mày, ba mom, mày, ma da da mom, mine, 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 da mom, da mine, 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 mine. What's your favorite? She picked up a worn copy of The Little Prince and began to flip through the pages gently. Why is this your favorite? David asked, genuinely interested. Because it talks about important things that adults forget, Emily replied seriously. Like how important it is to take care of your flower, even when it's hard sometimes, and how adults only care about numbers but forget to look at the stars. David felt a lump in his throat. And you? Do you like to see the stars? I love it. Sometimes my mom and I go up to the rooftop to see the stars. She teaches me the names of the constellations and makes up stories about them. Emily moved closer to the window and pointed outside. From this window you can see 3 really bright stars. I want to show you after it stops raining. Emily, come help set the table, Maria called from the kitchen. I'm coming. Emily carefully put the book away. David, can you help me? Mom always says that having guests is serious business. Of course. They returned to the living room where Maria had transformed the small 4-seat table into something magical. The red and white checkered tablecloth was immaculate. The plates, clearly a cherished wedding gift, shone under the warm light of the lamp. There were even paper napkins folded into swans. Wow, Mom, you really went all out. Emily clapped her hands. It's Christmas, Maria smiled, taking off her apron. It deserves special attention. David watched the scene, mother and daughter working together to make a simple dinner special, and felt something stir in his chest. When was the last time he had seen such dedication and love in such small gestures? "David," Emily called, already seated at the table, "do you have family?" The question hit him like an unexpected blow. "I have a mum." "And where is she?" "Emily," Maria gently cautioned, "don't be too curious." "It's okay." David sat down next to the girl. "My mom lives in a big house, but we don't spend much time together." "Why not?" "Because sometimes adults complicate things and forget the important stuff." Emily nodded seriously. "Like in The Little Prince, adults care so much about numbers that they forget to take care of people." Exactly like in the book. Maria brought the dishes from the kitchen, and the small apartment filled with the most comforting aromas David had felt in decades. The chicken was golden and juicy, the stuffing crackled with bacon and spices, and the potato salad had that homemade taste that no five-star restaurant could replicate. "Before we eat," Emily said solemnly, "we always give thanks." "Thank for what?" David asked. "Everything," the girl replied simply, closing her eyes and putting her hands together. "Thank you for the food, for family, for home, for friends, for our health, and for having new people at our table today." David looked at Maria, who was smiling with her eyes closed, and then at Emily, with her genuine gratitude for things he had forgotten to appreciate. He closed his eyes too, and for the first time in years, truly gave thanks. For being there. For those two people, for discovering that home wasn't a place, but a feeling. The dinner unfolded like a symphony of laughter and discoveries. Emily proved to be an unstoppable conversationalist, jumping from topic to topic with the naturalness of someone who still believes that the world is full of wonders waiting to be explored. David found himself answering questions about his favorite color, blue, like the sea, his favorite animal, dolphins because they are smart and free, and whether he really drove a talking car, no, but he wished it did. "And do you have kids?" Emily asked while savoring a generous bite of chocolate mousse. "I don't," David replied, watching how the girl smeared her chin with sweetness without a care. "Why not?" "Emily," Maria warned once more, but David shook his head, indicating it was okay. "Because I never found someone special enough to have a family with." "What a shame," Emily sighed dramatically. "You would be a cool dad. I bet you would let the kids stay up late on weekends." David laughed. "How do you know?" "Because you haven't yelled once since you got here, and you even laughed at my bad jokes. Mean dads don't do that." The casual mention of a dad brought a momentary shadow to Emily's face, which quickly focused back on finishing her dessert. Maria and David exchanged glances, both realizing that this was still a delicate subject. "Emily," Maria said gently, "why don't you go brush your teeth? It's past your bedtime." "But Mom, it's Christmas, and David is here." "Exactly for that reason. We want you to be ready to open presents from Santa tomorrow." Emily sighed resignedly, but obeyed. Before leaving the room, she turned to David. "Will you stay until I fall asleep? I want to show you the stars from my window." "If your mom lets me." "You can stay," Maria smiled, "but don't take too long. Tomorrow she will wake up at 5 in the morning like every Christmas." "Deal." As Emily got ready for bed, David helped Maria clear the table. The silence between them was comfortable, punctuated only by the sound of dishes being washed and put away. "She's amazing," David said, drying a plate with the towel Maria had offered him. "She's my whole life," Maria replied simply. "Everything I do is for her." "Including taking a job below your qualifications." Maria stopped washing the dishes and turned to him. "What do you mean?" "Maria, I read your resume. Graduated from NYU, 8 years of experience, always with great reviews. Why would a woman with your background accept a junior position at my company?" Maria dried her hands slowly, clearly choosing her words. "Because no one else hired me." "I don't believe that." "Then maybe you don't know much about the job market for single mothers with gaps in their resumes." David furrowed his brow. "What gaps?" Maria sighed, leaning against the sink. "After Mark left, I was out of work for 6 months. Mom had serious complications with her diabetes, needed surgery, physical therapy. Emily was having nightmares, didn't want to go to school, couldn't concentrate. I had to stay home to take care of both of them. And that hurt your chances? You'd be surprised how many companies consider family instability a hiring risk, especially for management positions. David felt a pang of anger. That's discrimination. That's reality. So when I got the job at your company, even though it was for a lower position, I accepted without thinking twice. I need to work, David. I can't afford to be proud. But you lied in the interview. Maria stiffened. What do you mean? You have an MBA in management. You've managed teams of up to 20 people, coordinated projects worth millions. And in the interview you said your experience was basic in management. Maria's face paled. How do you know that? I had someone investigate. You... What? Maria's voice rose an octave. I had one of our HRs do a more detailed check on your academic and professional history. Maria stepped away from him, her eyes shining with indignation. You investigated my life. Why? Because it didn't make sense. A woman with your competence accepting a position so below her potential. I wanted to understand why. The reason is that I'm desperate. Maria exploded, but then lowered her voice, remembering that Emily was in the next room. The reason is that I have bills to pay, a daughter to raise, a sick mother. The reason is that I can't wait for the perfect job when the rent is due on the 5th. Maria, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm trying to understand why you hid. Because every time I mention my MBA and management experience, they want to know why I'm applying for a junior position. And when I explain about the 6 months out of the job market, they decide I'm too risky. So I learned that sometimes it's better to seem less qualified than to seem problematic. David stepped closer to her, who was still turned away. What if I offered you a position that matched your qualifications? Maria turned slowly. What do you mean? I need a special projects manager, someone to coordinate our expansion into the Northeast. Salary 5 times higher than your current one, your own team, autonomy in decision-making. Maria's eyes widened. David, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. This is because... Maria gestured vaguely to the set table, the house around them. Because of today, the dinner. It's because you're the most competent person to come into my company in the last 2 years, and I was wasting your talent. Mum! David! Emily's voice echoed from the room. It stopped raining. Come see the stars. Maria quickly wiped away a tear that had escaped. Let's go. She won't give up until she shows you the stars. They walked together to Emily's room, where she was already in her pajamas, her hair falling loosely over her shoulders. She had opened the window and was leaning on the sill, pointing to the night sky. Look, can you see that? Emily pointed to a bright spot in the sky. That's the North Star. Mum taught me that it always points home. David stepped closer to the window and looked where Emily was pointing. The sky had cleared after the rain, revealing some stars that managed to shine despite the light pollution of New York City. And that one is my favorite. Emily pointed to another point of light. I don't know its name, but I call it the Star of Hope. Why that name? David asked. Because every night before I go to sleep, I look at it and make a wish, and sometimes wishes come true. What kind of wishes? Emily looked at Maria, then back at David. Yesterday, I wished for Mum to stop worrying so much. And today, you came to dinner with us, and she laughed more than I've seen her laugh in a long time. David felt a lump in his throat. So your wish came true. Part of it, Emily smiled. Tonight, I'm going to wish for one more thing. What? I can't tell you or it won't work, but it has to do with family. Maria stepped closer and kissed her daughter's forehead. Now it's time for bed, my love. Hey, David, Emily called out as he was leaving the room. Thank you for coming. It was the best Christmas we've ever had. Thank you for having me in your family. After Emily fell asleep, David and Maria returned to the living room. The silence between them was now heavy with unresolved tension. "The job offer," Maria finally said. "Is it real?" "Completely real. And it has nothing to do with this?" She gestured between them. "With what?" "With whatever is happening here between us." David was silent for a long moment. "Maria, I don't know what's happening between us. I just know that you deserve much more than you're getting, professionally speaking." "And personally speaking?" "Personally speaking." David stepped closer to her. "I think your daughter is right about wishes on stars." "Why?" "Because I also made a wish last night, and today it came true." Maria looked into his eyes. "What wish?" "I wished not to spend another Christmas alone." The distance between them decreased imperceptibly, and David found himself lost in Maria's brown eyes, seeing the same vulnerability he felt in his own chest. "David," Maria whispered. "Yes? I think we're treading on dangerous ground." "I know. You're my boss." "I know. And I have a daughter to think about." "I know that too. So what are we going to do?" David smiled sadly. "We're going to be very, very careful." January arrived in New York City. With the suffocating heat typical of a New York City summer, the return to work after the Christmas break brought a renewed energy to Anderson Realty, but also a palpable tension between David and Maria that did not go unnoticed by the more observant colleagues. Maria had accepted the promotion to Special Projects Manager, and her new office on the 18th floor, 3 floors below the executive suite, but light years above where she had been before, caused considerable buzz among the employees. Some whispered about favoritism, others about her finally recognized competence. Maria pretended not to hear either. "Meeting in 10 minutes in the conference room," Claudia announced, passing by Maria's desk with a stack of documents. "Northeast Project. Mr. Anderson wants to introduce the team." Maria took a deep breath, adjusting the navy blazer she had bought with her first raised salary. In the 3 weeks since the promotion, she and David had maintained an almost exaggerated professionalism, greeting each other formally in the hallways, addressing each other as Mr. and Ms. in meetings, avoiding any sign of intimacy that could fuel corporate gossip. But the glances were impossible to control. The conference room was packed when Maria arrived. David was already there, impeccable in his charcoal grey suit, hair perfectly styled, standing tall, like someone born to lead. He discreetly waved when she entered, the same wave he gave to any employee, but Maria caught something more in the gesture, a nearly imperceptible glimmer in his eyes. "Everyone," David began as soon as everyone settled, "as you know, Anderson Realty is expanding operations to the Northeast. It's a growing market, with pent-up demand for quality housing and enormous potential for our developments." He activated the projector, revealing colorful graphs and maps. "We will start with 3 cities, Miami, Orlando, and Tampa. Initial investment of $200 million, with the first complexes expected to be delivered in 18 months. "Who will coordinate the project?" asked Mark, David's partner. "Maria Johnson," David pointed in her direction, "our new Special Projects Manager. She will assemble and lead the entire team responsible for the expansion." A low murmur swept through the room. Maria felt the eyes turn to her. Some curious, others skeptical, some clearly uncomfortable. "With all due respect," said Robert, one of the senior managers, "Maria is very new to the company. Wouldn't it be wiser to place someone with more experience on a project of this scale?" The silence that followed was tense. Maria felt her blood rush to her face, but before she could respond, David stepped in. "Robert, do you have any doubts about Maria's technical competence?" "No, but about her academic background, MBA from NYU, specialization in project management." "Mr. Anderson, it's not a question of competence. Then what is it a question of?" David's voice had taken on that cold tone everyone in the company knew and feared. Robert swallowed hard. "It's just that, well, She has only been here a short time, and a project of this magnitude. Maria, David turned to her, could you present your initial proposal for the project structure? Maria stood up, feeling all eyes focused on her. She took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice gaining strength with each word. The expansion will be structured in 3 phases. First phase, detailed market research in each city, identification of strategic land, and analysis of local competition. Second phase, forming partnerships with regional suppliers and hiring local teams. Third phase, simultaneous start of construction in all 3 markets. She walked to the projector and began to manipulate the slides with ease. My proposal is to establish regional offices in each city, with autonomy for operational decision-making, but reporting directly to the headquarters in New York City. This will speed up processes and reduce travel costs. And what about the timelines? Asked Carol from Finance. 18 months for the first development in each city, with the possibility of reducing to 15 months if we can expedite approvals with the city councils. How do you plan to expedite the approvals? Robert insisted, clearly testing her. Maria smiled. Knowledge of local legislation, relationships with competent authorities, and, most importantly, projects that meet the specific needs of each market. We will not try to replicate the New York model in the Northeast. We will create products suitable for the regional climate, culture, and purchasing power. A murmur of approval circulated through the room. Even Robert seemed impressed, though still skeptical. It's a solid proposal, Mark admitted. What would be the initial timeline? First reconnaissance trip next week. Miami first, then Orlando and Tampa. 15 days in each city to map opportunities and establish contacts. Alone? David asked. With a small team initially. Me, an architect, an engineer, and someone from the sales department. No. David shook his head. That's too much responsibility for a small team in territories we don't know. I will go along on the first trip. Maria stared at him, surprised. Mr. Anderson, that's not necessary. It is. It's a $200 million investment. I want to personally oversee the first steps. Another murmur swept through the room, this one quieter and laden with speculation. Maria saw Robert exchanging significant glances with other managers. All right, David regained control of the meeting. Maria, I want the detailed plan on my desk by Friday. Everyone, you're dismissed. Maria, can you stay for a minute? The room slowly emptied, employees whispering among themselves in the hallway. Maria stood by the conference table, waiting for David to close the door. Are you crazy? Were her first words as soon as they were alone. Why? Announcing that you will travel with me? After all this act of professional distance? David stepped closer to her but kept a safe distance. Maria, it's a $200 million project. It's natural for me to accompany the start. David, you haven't traveled to supervise projects in 5 years. Everyone knows that. Mark mentioned it in the December meeting. And so now everyone will start to suspect that there's something beyond professional between us. David fell silent, for a moment running her hand through her hair, a gesture that Maria had learned to recognize as a sign of nervousness. Maybe it's time to stop pretending that there isn't. David, Maria, in the last 3 weeks, you have completely reorganized the project department, identified 15 flaws in the current processes, and presented solutions for all of them. You are objectively the best hire I've made in years. Thank you, but... And also, he took a step closer, in the last 3 weeks I haven't been able to stop thinking about Christmas at your house, about Emily's smile when she showed the stars, about the taste of the French toast you made, about the feeling of having a family, even if just for a few hours. Maria felt her heart race. David, we talked about this. We talked about being careful, and I am being careful. Professionally, you deserve this promotion and this opportunity. Personally, he stopped right in front of her. Personally, I would really like to have dinner at your house again. That's complicated. I know. You are my boss. I know. People will talk, probably. And I have a daughter who is starting to get attached to you. This seemed to hit David like a punch. She is? Asks about you every night. Wants to know if you're coming back for dinner, if you like the house, if you'll teach her to drive when she grows up. David smiled. And what do you say? That you are a very busy man. And what if I weren't so busy? Maria stared at him for a long moment. David, I can't afford to get emotionally involved with you if this is just curiosity, or boredom, or charity. And what if it's none of those things? Then I need to know what it is. Honestly? David took a deep breath. I don't know either. I just know that since that night I can't stop thinking about both of you. I can't stop imagining what it would be like to have a real family. The office door swung open abruptly, interrupting the moment. Claudia entered carrying a stack of documents. Sorry, I didn't know you were still here. I just came to get... She stopped, noticing the closeness between them, the tension in the air. No problem, Claudia. David stepped away from Maria, resuming a professional posture. We were just finishing up. Sure. Claudia quickly grabbed what she came for and left, but not before casting a speculative glance at both of them. Damn, Maria murmured. It will be fine. David, you don't understand. I need this job. I can't give them reasons to question my presence here. No one is going to question anything. You don't know how the corporate world works for women like me. Any slip-up, any suspicion of favoritism, and my credibility goes down the drain. David watched her for a moment, seeing the genuine concern in her eyes. What do you want me to do? Don't travel with me. Send someone else from the board. Maria, David, please, let me prove my worth professionally before we complicate things personally. He reluctantly nodded. All right. But I want daily reports. Of course. And I want you to take Michael with you. He knows the northeastern market. Perfect. They fell silent for a moment, the weight of professional and personal decisions hanging between them. David. Yes? When I get back from this trip, maybe we can have dinner again, at home. Emily has been asking about you. David smiled. I would love that. But this time, you bring dessert. Deal. The first week of February brought an unexpected tragedy that would completely change the dynamic between David and Maria. It was a rainy Tuesday when Maria's phone rang during a planning meeting on the 18th floor. She looked at the screen and saw the number from Emily's school. Excuse me, she murmured to her colleagues, stepping out of the conference room to answer. Ms. Maria, the school secretary's voice sounded tense. Emily got sick during gym class. She has severe abdominal pain and vomiting. The principal thought it best to call an ambulance. Maria's world collapsed. Ambulance? What do you mean ambulance? She is conscious, but the pain seems very strong. We are already on our way to Mercy Hospital. Can you meet us there? Maria could barely respond. Her hands trembled as she hung up the phone and rushed back to the conference room. Guys, I need to leave. Family emergency, she said quickly, already gathering her materials. Is something wrong? Asked Michael, the engineer on the team. My daughter is being taken to the hospital. Maria? Claudia stood up. Do you want someone to drive you? You look too shaken to drive. No, I need to go now. Maria ran through the hallways toward the elevator, her heart racing. Hospital, ambulance, Emily. The words repeated in her mind like a terrifying mantra. The elevator doors closed, and she frantically pressed the button for the ground floor, as if that could make it go faster. When she finally reached the parking lot, her hands were shaking so much that she could barely get the key in the ignition. It was then that someone knocked on her car window. David was outside, a worried expression on his face. Maria, are you fit to drive? I need to get to the hospital, she replied, trying to start the car. Not like that. I'll take you. David, you don't have to. I'm not asking for permission. He opened the passenger door of his own BMW. Let's go. During the drive to Mercy Hospital, David drove in silence, while Maria tried to call the school, the hospital, anyone who could give her news about Emily. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "It's going to be all right," David said softly. "You don't know that," Maria replied, her voice choked with panic. "What if it's appendicitis? What if she needs surgery? The company's health plan only covers the basics. And what if she needs ICU or—" "Maria." David reached out and touched her hand. "Breathe. You're not alone in this." They arrived at the hospital in 15 minutes that felt like hours. Maria jumped out of the car before even David had just parked and rushed to the reception. "Emily Johnson," he said breathlessly to the receptionist. "My daughter was brought in by ambulance from Santos Dumont School." "One moment," the woman typed on the computer. "She is being examined on the second floor, pediatrics, room 204. Maria ran to the elevator with David right behind her. When they reached the second floor, they found the school principal, Mrs. Sarah, waiting in the hallway. "Maria, thank God you made it. How is she? What happened?" "The doctor is still examining her, but he suspects appendicitis. She was fine during the first class, but in gym class she started complaining of stomach pain. Within 10 minutes she was vomiting and crying in pain." Maria leaned against the wall, feeling her legs weaken. David immediately positioned himself beside her, offering support. "Where is the doctor?" "Room 204. He said he would come talk to you as soon as he finished the examination." At that moment, a man in a white coat came out of one of the rooms, consulting a clipboard. "Mrs. Maria Johnson." "That's me." Maria stepped forward. "Dr. Henry Smith, pediatric surgeon. Your daughter has acute appendicitis. We need to operate immediately." The world spun around Maria. "Operate? Is it serious?" "It's a common procedure, but in children it always requires special care. We'll do it laparoscopically, which is less invasive. Recovery is usually smooth." "How long does it take?" "About an hour, but I need you to sign the consent forms." David stepped forward. "Doctor, what is the cost of the surgery?" "It depends on the insurance." "We don't have insurance." "What is the total cost, including hospitalization?" The doctor hesitated. "Between $15,000 and $20,000, depending on the length of the hospitalization." Maria paled. "Doctor, I don't have that money right now, but I can pay in installments. I can make a down payment." "The surgery will be paid for," David interrupted. "In full. You can use my credit card." "David, no." Maria turned to him. "I can't accept." "Maria, your daughter needs surgery now. We'll discuss the rest later." "But—" "Later," David repeated firmly. "Right now, you need to sign the papers and be there for her." The next 2 hours were a blur of signatures, medical terms, and anxiety. David stayed by Maria's side the entire time, handling all the paperwork, while she focused on not panicking. When they finally got to see Emily in the recovery room, the girl was drowsy from the anesthesia, but conscious. Her eyes lit up when she saw Maria. "Mom," her voice came out hoarse. "It hurt a lot, but the doctor said I was very brave." "You were, my love." Maria held her small hand, fighting back tears of relief. "David!" Emily looked over her mother's shoulder. "You came too?" "Of course I did. I wouldn't miss the chance to meet the bravest girl in New York City." Emily smiled weakly. "The doctor said I'll have a tiny scar. It'll be like a warrior's." "Like a warrior's," David confirmed, sitting on the other side of the bed. "And warriors always recover quickly." During the 3 days of hospitalization that followed, David showed up at the hospital every morning before work and every night after hours. He brought books for Emily, flowers for Maria, and always found an excuse to resolve some bureaucratic issue or talk to the doctors. "David," Maria said on the second night, when Emily had finally fallen asleep, "I need to thank you, but I also need to make it clear that I will pay you back. Every penny." "Maria!" "No, let me speak." She turned to face him. "I know you did this out of kindness, and I am grateful, very grateful, but I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's taking care of people who are important to me." David, you spent $18,000 on my daughter's surgery. That's more than I earn in 3 months. And you would pay any amount to save her life. The difference is that I had the amount available. Maria was silent for a moment. The people at work will find out. Joe, how? The company's health plan didn't cover the surgery. HR will know it was paid out of pocket, and it's not hard to find out by whom. David sighed. Maria, you're worried about the wrong things. I'm worried about my professional reputation, about the perception that I'm receiving special favors. And if you are, Maria looked at him surprised. What do you mean? What if I really am giving you special favors? What if I actually care more about you and Emily than I should care about an employee? David, Maria, I spent 3 days in this hospital because I couldn't stay home knowing you were here. I paid for the surgery because the thought of Emily suffering for lack of money was unbearable to me. And if that is favoritism, then yes, I am favoring you. The silence stretched between them, heavy with tension and unspoken truths. What does this mean? Maria finally asked. It means I stopped pretending that you two are just 2 more people in my life. And now? Now you decide if you want me to keep pretending, or if you accept that this, he gestured between them, is real and will have consequences. Maria looked at Emily sleeping in the hospital bed, then back at David. What kind of consequences? People will talk. They will suspect. They will question your promotions and my impartiality. And are you willing to face that? David stood up and approached her. For you two, I'm willing to face anything. Maria felt her heart race. David, I'm scared. Of what? Of getting used to this. To you taking care of us. And then you finding out that this isn't what you really want. David reached out and gently touched her face. Maria, in the last 3 days, taking care of you has been the most natural thing I've ever done. It wasn't effort, it wasn't obligation, it was instinct. And if it's just gratitude, your or mine, then let's find out together. Maria closed her eyes, feeling his touch on her face. People are going to say, I'm with you for your money. And are you? She opened her eyes and stared at him. If I were with you for your money, David, I would have accepted your help without question. I would have let you pay for everything without protest. Gold diggers don't argue with rich men out of pride. David smiled. So we are 2 proud people trying to figure out what we feel for each other. I think so. And Emily? Maria looked at her sleeping daughter. Emily has already decided that you are part of the family. Yesterday she asked me if you were going to be her new dad. And what did you say? That things are complicated between adults. They really are. But Emily doesn't understand complications. To her, you took care of her when she needed it, so you are family. David moved closer to the bed and watched Emily sleeping. What if she's right? What if it's that simple? Nothing is simple, David, especially when you have so much to lose, or so much to gain. Maria sighed. When we go back home, we will have to make a decision. What decision? Whether we really try this, or if we keep it just a professional relationship. And do you already know what you want? Maria looked at David, then at Emily, then back at David. I know what I'm afraid of wanting. What is it? You. Us. A real family. David smiled, and for the first time in 3 days, Maria saw genuine hope in his eyes. Then let's try. Emily's return home after surgery brought a strange normality to Maria's life. David had insisted on paying for a week of medical leave so she could take care of her daughter's recovery, and every day he showed up in the late afternoon, always with a plausible excuse. He needed to discuss the project in the Northeast, had documents for Maria to review, or was just passing through the area. Emily loved these visits. Still recovering, she had turned the living room into her headquarters, surrounded by books, drawings, and games that David brought religiously. The girl had decided that he was officially part of the family and treated him with the familiarity of someone who had always known him. "David," Emily said one Thursday afternoon while he helped her with a 1,000-piece puzzle. "Do you have a girlfriend?" Maria, who was preparing tea in the kitchen, almost dropped the cup. "I don't," David replied with all the seriousness in the world. "Why not?" "I never found the right person." "And how do you know when it's the right person?" David looked in the direction of the kitchen, where Maria pretended to be very focused on cutting cake. "I think you know when you feel at home with that person." "Like you feel here?" "Like I feel here." Emily smiled with satisfaction. "Then you found her." "Found what?" "The right person." Maria entered the room at that moment, saving David from answering. But the question lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. It was Friday when everything changed. David was in his office reviewing contracts when Claudia knocked on the door, looking nervous. "Mr. Anderson, your mother is here. She says she needs to speak with you urgently." David looked up from the papers, surprised. Helen Anderson rarely showed up at the office unannounced. "Send her in." Helen entered with her usual imperial posture, wearing a beige Chanel suit and carrying an Hermes bag that cost more than Maria's car. At 68, she was still an imposing woman, with perfectly styled grey hair and eyes that did not forgive mistakes. "Mum!" David stood up to greet her. "What a surprise! Is something wrong?" "Sit down, David." Helen took her place in the armchair in front of his desk. "We need to talk." The serious tone put him on alert. "About what?" "About your employee, Maria Johnson." David felt his stomach tighten. "What about her?" "David, I know you paid for her daughter's surgery." "How do you know that?" Helen smiled coldly. "Dear, do you think I don't keep track of your financial movements? $18,000 on your credit card for a hospital. On the same day, one of your employees misses work for a family emergency?" And so that is exactly the kind of mistake your father used to make." David stood up abruptly. "Don't compare this to Dad." "I'm not comparing, I'm warning you." Helen elegantly crossed her legs. "Women like her are experts at awakening the protective instinct of rich and lonely men." "Women like her?" "Single mothers in financial distress. Beautiful, hard-working, with a sad story to tell, and always with a sick or needy child to tug at the target's heartstrings." David felt anger rising in his throat. "Are you insinuating that Maria staged her daughter's appendicitis?" "I'm insinuating that she knew how to take full advantage of the opportunity that arose." "Mom, you don't know Maria." "I do know. I had her investigated." David's blood ran cold. "You did what?" Helen opened her bag and took out a manila folder. "Complete investigation. And believe me, what I found out will interest you a lot." "I don't want to know." "You will want to." Helen opened the folder and began to read. Maria Johnson, 35 years old, graduated from NYU. Married at 25 to Mark Johnson, an advertising executive. Separation in May 2022. "Mom, stop it." "What's interesting, David, is the reason for the separation. I'm not interested. Her husband was transferred to Miami, taking a regional director position at a multinational. He offered to take the whole family. She refused." David stopped walking. "And so, why would a woman refuse her husband's promotion, an opportunity for a better life for the family? Because she had to take care of her sick mother?" Helen smiled. "Or because she already had other plans?" "What plans?" "David, don't you find it too coincidental that she rejected a comfortable life in Miami and 2 years later is working at your company?" "Mom, that's paranoia." "It's precaution, and there's more." Helen turned the page. "She applied to 3 companies before yours. They all rejected her. Do you know why?" David didn't respond. "Because they were all smaller companies. She wasn't looking for a job, David. She was looking for a target." "Enough!" David slammed his hand on the table. "I'm not going to listen to this anymore." "You will, because I'm not done." Helen stood up. "The investigation revealed that she extensively researched you before applying for the position. She knew your personal history, your past relationships, even your daily routine. How do you know this? Internet browsing history. It's not hard to track. David sat heavily in his chair. That doesn't prove anything. Doesn't it? Then explain to me why a woman with an MBA and 8 years of experience applies for a junior position at a company where the most eligible bachelor in New York City works. Because she needed the job. David, dear. Helen leaned closer to the table. I know you want to believe she's different. I understand. You've always been too much of a romantic, always believed that true love exists, but you're being manipulated. I'm not. You are. And when you discover the truth, it will be too late. She will be married to you, the daughter will be calling you dad, and half of your fortune will be at risk. David fell silent for a long moment, processing the information. Part of him completely rejected his mother's insinuations, but another part, the paranoid part that Helen had cultivated in him for years, began to question. What do you want me to do? End this, now, before it's too late. I can't just fire her. You can. Any reason will do. Downsizing, restructuring, incompatibility. You are the owner of the company. And what if you're wrong? Helen smiled sadly. David, I would love to be wrong, but 40 years of experience have taught me to recognize gold diggers, and Maria Johnson has all the signs. What signs? She appeared in your life at the right moment with the right story, awakening exactly the right feelings. She made you feel needed, protective, special. And now you're willing to risk everything for her. David ran his hands through his hair. Mom, what if I really care about her? Then you will suffer when you discover the truth, but at least you will keep your fortune intact. Helen put the papers in the folder and handed it to David. Read carefully, and then tell me if you still think it's too much of a coincidence. After Helen left, David was alone in his office, staring at the manila folder as if it were a bomb about to explode. Part of him wanted to throw it in the trash without opening it. Part of him needed to know the truth. He slowly opened the first page and began to read. With each line, his confidence in Maria shattered a little more. The data was cold, objective, and painted a very different picture of the hard-working and honest woman he had met. Research on her personal life, applications only to companies connected to him. Refusal of the transfer to Miami that would have solved all of his family's financial problems. When he finished reading, David rested his head in his hands. Either his mother was right, and he had been masterfully manipulated, or Helen had managed to twist innocent facts to create a sinister narrative. The problem was that he could no longer distinguish between the two possibilities. And that night, for the first time since Emily's surgery, David did not show up at the house in the Upper East Side. Maria looked out the living room window for the 5th time in 10 minutes, searching for the black BMW that had become part of their routine in recent days. It was almost 7 on Friday evening, and David still hadn't arrived. It was the first time since Emily's surgery that he hadn't come to visit them. "Mom, is David not coming today?" Emily asked from the sofa, where she was lying down flipping through a storybook he had brought 2 days earlier. "He must be busy at work, sweetheart. But he always lets us know when he can't come." Maria forced a smile. Sometimes things come up at the last minute. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. During the week, David had been acting strange, more formal on the calls, more distant when they talked about the Midwest project. On Thursday, when she suggested he have dinner with them over the weekend, he had given a vague excuse about family commitments. Saturday passed without a word. Maria called his cell twice, but it went straight to voicemail. On Sunday, she tried again, unsuccessfully. On Monday, when she returned to work after medical leave, Maria went up to the 25th floor, determined to understand what was happening. David's secretary, an efficient 50-year-old woman, greeted her with a professional smile. "Good morning, Maria. Mr. Anderson is in a meeting. Can I wait?" "Actually, he will be busy all day." But he left this for you." The secretary handed her a sealed envelope. Maria went down to her office with the envelope in hand, her heart racing. She closed the door and opened it with trembling fingers. "Maria, after careful consideration, I have decided it would be best for us to maintain a strictly professional relationship from now on. Please understand that this has nothing to do with your competence as an employee, which remains exemplary. The Midwest project will proceed as planned under your coordination. Mark will accompany the initial trips as previously discussed. Thank you for your understanding. David Anderson." Maria read the letter 3 times before she could fully process its content. Her hands trembled as she tucked the paper into the desk drawer. Strictly professional relationship. The words echoed in her mind like a sentence. After everything they had shared, after the night in the hospital, after he had said he wanted to try to build a family, there was a knock at the door. Maria quickly wiped her eyes and tried to compose her expression. "Come in." It was Claudia, carrying a stack of documents and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Good morning, Maria. How was your weekend?" It was quiet. "Emily is recovering well." "That's good. And how is David? You both seemed pretty close last week." Maria looked at her cautiously. "Mr. Anderson is my boss, Claudia. That's all." Of course. It's just that, well, people have been talking about the hospital, about him paying for the surgery." "Who talked?" Claudia hesitated. "Maria, you know how rumors work in a company. When the president pays for an employee's surgery, what exactly are they saying? That maybe you have special influences?" Maria felt her face flush. "What kind of influences?" "Maria, I don't believe those rumors, but some people are questioning your promotion being so quick, the Midwest project being given to you. Are they insinuating that I'm sleeping with him?" "I didn't say that, but that's what they're thinking." Claudia sighed. "Maria, you are competent and deserve your position, but you have to admit that the appearances are that my daughter went through an emergency surgery and my boss was kind enough to help. Nothing more. And now, do you still talk?" Maria hesitated. "Mr. Anderson and I maintain a strictly professional relationship." Claudia nodded, looking relieved. "It's better this way, for everyone involved." After Claudia left, Maria locked herself in the bathroom and cried for 10 minutes. Not just from the pain of David's rejection, but from the humiliation of knowing the whole company was speculating about her personal life. The following days were torture. David avoided any unnecessary contact with her, communicating only by email or through third parties. When they had to be in the same meeting, he maintained a cold cordiality that was worse than any open hostility. Emily, at home, kept asking about David. "Mum, why doesn't David come here anymore? He's very busy at work, sweetheart. But he could at least call or send a text. Sometimes adults get very busy and forget other things." "Did he forget about us?" The question broke Maria's heart. "No, sweetheart, he didn't forget. It's just that sometimes things change." "Why did they change?" "Because they changed." On the Thursday of the second week of silence, Maria couldn't take it anymore. She waited until the end of the workday and went up to the 25th floor. The secretary had already left, and David's office light was still on. She knocked on the door and entered without waiting for a response. David looked up from his papers, genuinely surprised to see her. "Maria, is something wrong?" "Yes. You disappeared from our lives without explanation." David leaned back in his chair. "I sent a letter explaining my decision." "That wasn't an explanation. It was a dismissal." "Maria, I thought it would be better for everyone." "For everyone? Or for you?" David fell silent. "David, what happened? Last Monday you were at my house playing with Emily, talking about trying to build something together. On Friday you completely disappeared. What changed?" I reflected on the situation. "And concluded what?" David stood up and walked to the window. "That maybe we were rushing things." "Rushing how?" Maria, you just got out of a marriage. You're going through financial difficulties. You have a daughter to raise. Maybe you're confusing gratitude with other things. Maria stared at him, incredulous. You think I'm with you out of gratitude? I don't know, and that's the question. Neither of us knows. David, look at me. He turned reluctantly. Have I ever asked you for money? No. Have I asked you for special favors, expensive gifts, anything material? No. Then why do you think I'm interested in your money? David hesitated. Because all women have been. All who? All the women who have been interested in me. Maria stepped forward. David, I'm not all those other women. I am me. And you know who I am. Do I? The question hit Maria like a slap. What do you mean by that? Maria, why did you research my personal life before applying for the job here? Maria's blood ran cold. How do you know that? Answer the question. Maria sat heavily in the chair in front of his desk. Who told you that? Does it matter? It does, because whoever told you distorted the facts. Then tell me the truth. Maria took a deep breath. When I found out I was going to separate, I started looking for a job. I researched several companies, including yours. It's natural to research the company and the people who work there before an interview. And why did you reject the transfer to Miami? How do you know about Miami? Maria, answer the question. Because my mom was sick and needed specific treatment here in New York City. And because Emily was struggling with the separation. And I didn't want to take her out of her environment too. And it had nothing to do with your plans to get a job at my company? Maria stood up abruptly. What plans? David, you're talking as if I had orchestrated some kind of scheme. And didn't you? The silence that followed was deafening. Maria looked at David as if she were seeing him for the first time. Do you really believe that? Her voice came out as a whisper. David didn't respond. Do you think I manipulated the whole situation, that I planned to get close to you, that I used my daughter to gain your sympathy? I don't know what to believe anymore. Maria felt tears starting to form. David, I spent 3 nights in the hospital taking care of my daughter. You were there with me. You saw my despair, my worry. Do you think that was an act? Maria, no. She raised her hand. Don't call me Maria. To you, I am now Mrs. Johnson. She walked to the door, then turned one last time. David, your mother got what she wanted. Congratulations to her. How do you know it was my mother? Because it's exactly the kind of thing a woman who doesn't want to share her child would do. And because you're acting just like a child who blindly believes in his mother. Maria opened the door. Oh, and David? Next time you want to investigate someone's life, do a better job, because whoever did this investigation missed an important piece of information. What information? That when I was looking you up online, it wasn't because I was planning to win you over. It was because Emily had asked me about the mom's boss, and I wanted to know if you were the kind of person she could respect. Because for me, my daughter's opinion about the people in my life is more important than anything else. The door closed with a soft click, leaving David alone with his doubts and the echo of Maria's words. Outside, Maria waited for the elevator with tears streaming down her face. It wasn't just the end of a relationship she was crying over. It was the end of the hope that there existed a man in the world capable of trusting her for who she really was. March arrived in New York City with the humid warmth that precedes autumn, and with it a melancholic routine settled into the lives of Maria and David. They crossed paths in the office hallways like polite strangers, exchanging formal greetings and keeping a safe distance from each other. The Midwest project was progressing under Maria's competent coordination, but the meetings were tense, laden with unspoken words. Emily, at home, had stopped asking about David after 2 weeks of evasive answers from Maria. The girl had developed a precocious wisdom about adults and their complications, limiting herself to occasional comments like, "Adults are very complicated," or When I grow up, I'll be simpler. It was on a Thursday afternoon that everything began to change. Maria was in her office reviewing architectural plans when Claudia rushed in, an expression of urgency on her face. "Maria, you need to go down to the lobby now." "Why? Did something happen?" "Emily is in the reception area. She ran away from school." Maria's blood ran cold. "What do you mean, ran away?" "The principal called in a panic. Emily left during recess and no one saw where she went. She showed up here 5 minutes ago, asking to speak with you." Maria rushed to the elevator, her heart racing. When she reached the lobby, she found Emily sitting in one of the reception chairs, still wearing her school uniform, with her backpack on her lap and a determined expression on her face. "Emily Johnson!" Maria knelt in front of her daughter. "You scared me to death. Why did you leave school without telling me?" "Because I needed to talk to you. And to David." "Emily, you can't just leave school like that." "Mom, you guys are being really dumb." Maria blinked, surprised. "What do you mean? You like each other, but you're fighting over dumb adult stuff." "Emily, it's not that simple." "Yes, it is. David likes us. We like him. Why don't you guys just be together?" Maria looked around, realizing that the conversation was attracting the attention of the security guards and the receptionist. "Emily, let's go home and talk there." "No, I want to talk to David first." "He's busy." "He's not." Emily pointed to the elevator, where David was coming out, clearly having been informed about the situation. David approached with firm steps, his expression a mix of concern and surprise at seeing Emily there. "Emily, what are you doing here? Your mum was worried." "I came to fix your problem," Emily declared with the seriousness of a little diplomat. "What problem?" David asked, although he knew perfectly well the answer. "You guys are pretending you don't like each other, but you're lying badly." Maria stood up, embarrassed. "David, I'm sorry about this. I'm taking her home now." "I'm not going!" Emily crossed her arms. "I'm not leaving until you two talk for real." David looked at Maria, then at Emily, and made an impulsive decision. "Let's go to my office, the three of us." "David, that's not necessary." "Yes, it is." He crouched down to Emily's level. "If you went through all this trouble to come here, you deserve to be heard." In the 25 floors of the elevator, the silence was broken only by Emily's determined voice. "You know I'm not a little kid anymore, right?" "We know," Maria replied. "So you know I can tell when adults are sad, even when they pretend they're not." David and Maria exchanged uncomfortable glances. "Mom cries in the shower. She thinks I can't hear, but I do. And you, David, have that sad puppy dog look that adults get when they're missing someone." In David's office, Emily settled into the big armchair as if she were the president of the meeting. "Now you two are going to explain to me why you stopped liking each other." "Emily, we didn't stop liking each other," Maria began. "Then why don't you talk anymore? Why doesn't David come over to the house anymore? Why do you both look sad when you think I'm not watching?" David sat on the edge of the table, observing that 8-year-old girl who had pinpointed with surgical precision the problem that two adults couldn't resolve. "Emily," he said gently, "sometimes adults complicate things because of stuff that's hard to explain." "Then explain it simply." Maria sighed. "Emily, some people told David that your mom doesn't really like him, that your mom just wants his money." Emily frowned. "What people?" "People who don't really know us," David replied. "And you believed those people instead of believing your mom?" The question hit David like a punch in the stomach. It's complicated, Emily." "It's not, no. It's simple." Emily stood up in the armchair. "When Mom really likes someone, she makes French toast. When she wants to impress someone, she makes chocolate cake. When she is nervous, she makes chocolate truffles. And when she really, really likes someone, she lets that person see her cry." David and Maria watched her in silence. "Mom made French toast for you on Christmas, and you saw her cry in the hospital when I was sick, so she really, really likes you." "Emily," Maria tried to intervene. "I'm not done." Emily raised her hand authoritatively. "And you, David, you like Mom because you always ask how she is when you come to visit me. And you like me because you remember the things I say, like about the Star of Hope." David felt a lump in his throat. "But you two are too proud to admit you were wrong. So I'll say it, you were wrong. And now you're going to apologize to each other and be a family again." The silence that followed was heavy with emotion. Emily got down from the chair and stood between the two adults. "Mum, apologize to David for being mad." "Issa, I don't have to apologize." "Yes, you do. You got mad because he doubted you, but you also doubted him when you thought he wouldn't trust you." Maria looked at David, then at her daughter. "Emily, where did you get all this wisdom?" "From the book, The Little Prince. Remember how it says that adults forget the important things?" David laughed, a tearful laugh. "And what are the important things, Emily?" "That when you like someone, you trust them. And when you trust, you don't listen to people who speak badly of the ones you like." Emily turned to David. "Now you apologize to Mum for believing those who spoke badly of her?" David stood up and walked over to Maria. "Maria, I apologize for doubting you, for believing in suspicions instead of trusting what I saw and felt when I was with you. And I apologize for getting mad instead of fighting to prove you were wrong," Maria replied, her eyes shining. "Now you hug," Emily ordered. David and Maria embraced, hesitantly at first, then with the strength of those who had missed that contact deeply. "And now?" Maria asked softly. "Now you kiss?" Emily replied naturally. "Issa," Maria blushed. "What?" "In Disney, after the princes and princesses make up, they always kiss." David laughed. "You're right, Emily. In Disney, they always kiss." "So kiss already. I'm hungry and want to go home for lunch." David looked at Maria, a silent question in his eyes. She nodded slightly, and he leaned in to kiss her, a gentle kiss, full of promises and new beginnings. "Done." Emily clapped her hands. "Now are you really a family again?" David knelt in front of her. "Emily, do you want me to be part of your family?" "I do. But there are conditions." "What are they?" "First, you have to have dinner at home at least twice a week." "Deal." "Second, you have to teach me to drive when I turn 10. "Deal, but let's start with a bicycle." "Third, when you and Mom get married, I want to be the flower girl." Maria gasped. "Issa!" "What? You're going to get married, right?" "People who like each other and kiss always get married." David looked at Maria, then back at Emily. "If your mom agrees, I would love to marry her." "Mom, do you agree?" Maria laughed through her tears. "Issa, these things take time." "Why? You like him? He likes you? I like both of you. What more do you need?" David stood up and took Maria's hands. "Emily is right. What more do we need? I love you, Maria. I love both of you, and I want to spend the rest of my life proving that. David, marry me. Not now, not tomorrow, but marry me when you're ready. And let me be Emily's dad if she accepts me." Emily jumped for joy. I accept. I'm going to have a real dad." Maria looked at those two who had become her whole life. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." Emily ran to hug them both. "Now we're really a family." Outside the window, New York City continued its frantic hustle. But inside that room, 3 people had found something that no amount of money in the world could buy, a home in each other's hearts. And somewhere in the sky, a star of hope shone brighter, a silent witness that some wishes really do come true when made with true love.